Good evening, America. Welcome to the Ascended Podcast. My name is Caleb Schulke, and I'm the founder of Ascend, as well as the entire Ascend Network. Tonight, we're here for a particular reason. We're going to be talking about a concept that plagues many entrepreneurs. But it's not just that. This exact concept that we'll be exploring has led to unfulfilled promises, debts, business failures, catastrophic circumstances, and consequences. The thing we're going to be talking about tonight is probably the biggest thing pulling you back from the results you want in life. And not only that, but it's challenged men throughout history to claim ourselves into a better version of ourselves. It's limited our society's progress, and it's put us back decades, if not centuries, of progress. Concept is decision fatigue. Figuring out which opportunity gets your time, gets your knowledge, gets your access. If you pick wrong, or even worse yet, if you don't pick at all, you're burned out and you just don't. The average entrepreneur makes 35,000 decisions a day. 35,000. That's including you. Even if you don't think you're an entrepreneur, you make 35,000 decisions a day. Most of them are small, of course, like what we want to eat, what type of shirt we want, how long I should continue to brush my teeth for, whatever. But a few determine if you will make $10,000 or lose it all. You think I'm wrong, you think I'm lying, you think it doesn't affect you. Actually, that's the exact logic that has you in this position to begin with. The fact that you don't think saying $10,000 is in your vocabulary. The fact that you don't think that you can play with the big dogs. You say you want to be successful. You say you want these results for yourself in life. But the second you get a glimpse of what that lifestyle looks like, it rattles your personality. It rattles your worldview because you just don't think you're built for it yet. Most of the ways you actually get successful, that you start your own business, that you win, come from very careful decision-making around your identity. I'm going to tell you something that should be common sense. People who talk about divorce in their marriage often will get divorced. The more that something is spoken into existence, the more that that concept is in your mind, where it's noticed as present, then all of a sudden your decisions start getting sorted. You may say divorce as a joke one day, but in the back of your mind, you're saying, well, did the fact that they didn't put their laundry away today, that get me closer or further away from divorce? Because now that that exists, it collects energy. And although you say you're just joking around, although you're saying you would never cheat on someone, having negativity like that is a sponge in your brain. And I want you to be very careful of these things. Negative energy is real and it's dangerous. Trust me, guys, I'm military, I'm practical. I've always been very by the books. This isn't definitionally, biologically, theoretically how this works. So if the science isn't backing it, why would I believe it? And of course, I can't see how manifestation happens. If I was ever challenged in my worldview on anything, I can almost guarantee to you guys that this is one of the points. I'm going to tie in my situation. Right now, I'm building 3 totally different business engines. Essentially an AI content business, right, for fast cash flow where I can partner with agencies and things like that and produce ads and graphics for them, a platform for recurring revenue, and an NFT project for very big equity when the season almost inevitably comes around this fall. Quote me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you just saw crypto take a massive spike today. It's coming back this fall, and I will eat my words if it doesn't. Proudly, because I'm invested in a lot of crypto right now, because I've studied the trends. Something I would encourage you guys to do as well. I'm in a lot of different businesses, and they all have potential, but each takes a different type of fuel. And none of that is even counting in what I'm doing right now with content. And I don't even think of content a lot of times as a business. It's just a accelerator, right? It's just gasoline to the fire of the different businesses. Because if I had a business or not, I would still be making content, because creating versus consuming is much more fulfilling and rewarding in life. Even if you're doing nothing, pick the camera up. Tell the world what you're doing. Do it for your grandkids. That's a great mindset. Film content. If you can film yourself at the gym and take weird looks, or when you're at Chipotle, like I often am, getting my burrito and I'm talking into the camera and there's 40 people in line at Chipotle looking at me. My grandkids would want to see that. And I want to remember what those days were like. You know, with all the microplastics probably fuming around in my system and in my brain right now. By the time I get to lose it at 60, it would be nice to at least have something to tell my grandkids what my life was like when I can't. So screw you, microplastics. Let's talk about how this works. Because I mentioned 3 businesses. I'm not going to get into fully how they work, the models and stuff like that. I obviously have a bachelor's of science in business administration. I've been a 6 times entrepreneur. I can teach you guys, and I actually do in my free community. I show you guys exactly how to run businesses. It's free because I believe in public knowledge. I believe in open source, fuck big, companies controlling everything, and give the world knowledge, knowledge for all. So I'm going to do a little bit of that today because I believe in inspiring you guys. I wish I had someone there for me when I was building my first company, and I just didn't. And I always heard the stories like, go find a mentor, go find somebody. And that's what I push a lot nowadays. But I'm a hypocrite because I didn't have that person. And I would have wanted them, but I didn't know where to find them. And I was already isolated. I was in college. I couldn't really go out. Like literally, it was a military institution. And so I just had to kind of learn things on the internet. And there's always something I regretted, not being able to tell the story about like the one mentor I had. I've mentioned mentors on my channel plenty of times, but if I say mentor, I'm not lying. I've had plenty of people help me as mentor positions, but none of them was like that. That one, master Shifu type position, right? Like the sensei training the karate kid type moment. But I digress. Let's get into the lesson. Cash flow is the first and most important business you can have. Cash flow is your oxygen. Imagine trying to talk about working out, but we have to start with the very basics. Is your body functioning? Because before we improve your business, right, or your body of operation, we have to make sure that it runs properly. If you have a degenerative disease, we're not going to be talking about working out first. We're going to be talking about what limitations you have, or are you even operational, right? Don't put the cart before the horse. So with the same sense, if you guys are talking about becoming billionaires, well, that involves equity. It involves brand value, billion-dollar businesses. And you're not going to get there just by flipping burgers, right? Or just by reselling lemonade. Probably not, unless you're a Minute Maid or something like that. But a cash flow business pays your rent. It keeps you in the game, right? Because it's like I can't even think of I'm gonna throw out a weird example. When I was in the military, right, doing basic training, I was on something called the assault course, and I couldn't even, there were obstacles, right, where you have to like butt smash a rifle and like charge through like dummies and things like that. But the whole time, you wouldn't even be able to do the obstacle if you weren't doing like high knees and had the rifle above your head, where they even said, you look like you're trying hard. You can go through my obstacle and go on to the next one. So literally, before I could even like try and make it through the course, I had to work my ass off just to be able to be at that obstacle without the guy being like, oh, his knees aren't high enough, send him back to the beginning, right? So sometimes you guys are thinking so much about making money, you're not even considering how you survive in the business. And that's the most important step, because if the oxygen stops, it's going to affect your life real quickly, right? Just like your health. If your health isn't there, you're going to notice it. And nothing in the world matters if you're dying. So how do we build cash flow businesses? I'm going to talk about that in a second. Probably the one that most of you relate to when you say you want to get rich. Well, actually, the term rich refers more to cash flow, because it's having spendable money, having money that can be, thrown away on different things, that's coming in as cash flow month to month, that you can rely on, that you've earned as a sort of income. But equity is different. Equity is having paid off Bitcoin in your bank. Equity is owning in cash $1 million house. They're assets that can be liquidated, but you already have them paid down. And in the equation sense, right, ALLO, remember the term ALLO, it's your assets, which is a house, right? A house is an asset because it holds money's value in it. A car is, but it's not very good because it loses value. A house usually goes up. So your assets, if you add the sum of your cars, your houses, your Bitcoin, all these things, your baseball cards, equals your liabilities, which is your debts, right? Like, so personal loans, business loans, mortgages, all that stuff, plus your equity. So doing the math, right? If you subtract liabilities from your assets, then you get your equity. So basically saying, if I have $1 million house and the mortgage is still about $600,000 on it, I have $400,000 of equity. Meaning I could go to the bank and say, if I sell this house today for $1 million and I pay off the loan, I would have $400,000. So that's my net worth. And that's what most people mean when they say net worth. It's not saying $1 million because it's $1 million house. We have to take into effect, I also have a loan working against that. Okay? Does that make sense? That's your basic business finance class, or I guess more of your accounting class 101. So that's your equity business. But that's the most important one that you're going to build in the long term, because maybe the next one is too, but this one's the most important financial business because it allows you to stack up net worth. Think about, I'm gonna give you two examples of businesses, right? You have McDonald's and you have McDonald's, I guess, the other side. Well, I know it's a weird example, but stay with me for a second. McDonald's as a core business is not about selling food. McDonald's main business is real estate, because McDonald's owns strategic locations on every corner that means anything, right, in the country. Look at the McDonald's closest to you. Is it not in a prime spot for people driving on main roads to find? The location it's located in, McDonald's owns that. It's their property. And therefore, they have an insane amount of real estate in every major city in the world. So that's where most of their value is held. How do they pay down that equity business? Well, they pay it off with a cash flow business, which is selling food. So the food actually doesn't matter that much to McDonald's. McDonald's cares more about getting income from selling the food to pay for the real estate in the prime locations around the world. So again, if somebody asks you what McDonald's does from this point forward, they're not a hamburger business. They're a real estate company. And you can expressly tell them, why the billions of dollars that they hold in real estate around the globe are worth so much more than the probably something $1 million they make each month from flipping patties. The cash flow business, though, they wouldn't own that much real estate if they didn't have money to go out and buy it. And they get the money from selling hamburgers. The final, most important type of business, which is a little abstract, is called a brand business. And it's essentially what I'm doing right here. A lot of times it's not necessarily a standard business operation. I don't sit down and I don't balance my checkbook and my budget for my social brand, but it does matter because just like a business, I get opportunities, and opportunities aren't always money. They can be collabs, which build up my influence, which build up my ability to sell things. Essentially, they are money, right? Because I could go out and a company would sponsor me like they have, and I can take on advertisements to go sell things to you guys and get paid to do that. I don't do that because I'm not a cheap sellout anymore. I would actually only sponsor companies that I use and that I actually find good value in. Back in college, when I was doing cheap ads for my TikTok account, when I was a big TikTok cringy influencer guy, that was a little different story. I was just trying to make money, right? So now, again, my brand matters more than making quick cash in that sense. So I'm going to position myself in the content I make in ways that drive the value forward, that bring in more subscribers, that keep you guys engaged and around, and hopefully add something to your lives too. Because then if my cash flow business and my equity business fell apart, I still have my brand. And I just need my face in the camera to put that out. Things I'll pretty much always have. So I could lose it all in a lawsuit tomorrow if I was really dumb. Thankfully, I have my assets structured a little better than that. But hypothetically, I lost everything. I could go out and film a video and you guys still know who I am. So that reputation of having trust with you guys, I can still monetize that and make money. So brand is kind of the third biggest type I would consider. It makes every dollar of your marketing work 10 times, more efficient, and a 10 times driving factor, right? Because people already trust you, and it builds that credibility before you push for a sale on your other businesses. That's why everything I do, I link to my main brand, so I can double, triple, quadruple dip on all these ventures through my private community that you guys can see I have going on. So most people drown because they try to swim in 3 different oceans at the same time. I'm trying to build 3 boats, but one of them's got a motor, right? That's the cash flow business, and it's like taking the little pontoon. It's like taking a dinghy, right? Rowing a little rowboat to a dinghy, then taking the dinghy out to my yacht. The yacht is the equity business, right? I guess the cash flow business is like the little rowboat. I'm taking that to my brand, which is kind of that medium-term business that's building my equity, my net worth, and my long-term assets. You can flip those last 2 around. You can say a brand's more important, but they kind of grow themselves together, and they kind of help each other in the long run, right? I can take loans out against my house or my assets that I own in equity, and I could take $400,000 from that mansion. I go to the bank and say, give me $300,000 of that, because they know they can sell the house to pay off the debt and still cover that $300,000. So the bank is safe giving me that money. And I can go take that and invest it in my business, because it's technically money I would have if I sold the house anyway, but I don't want to do that. And well, that's how the rich people evade taxes legally, right? It's not really a illegal technique to do that. So let's talk about decision fatigue. I got tired even thinking about that. Entrepreneurs burn time by continuously switching their tasks. I've done the research. You actually are not more efficient by multitasking. Your brain, every time you multitask, your brain has to switch between 2 different things. Now, if something takes time, right? For example, I actually used AI to code a lot of my platform. AI would make the changes on my website for me, and it would write the code, but it took a couple minutes every time I wanted to make a change. So I'd have to program in how I'd want to set up my platform, what changes I wanted to make. AI would make that. It would take about 3 minutes. Now, that's time, right? Because I don't need to be focused on that. I'm not technically multitasking, because that's just running it on its own now. Then for those 3 minutes, I can then work on writing a script, getting back to clients, my coaching clients, the one-on-one people that I work with, anything like that. And so technically it's multitasking, but not really. I'm just working with AI. And that's a more efficient way of doing it. But at 7 p.m., right, I'm marketing brands on Facebook or LinkedIn. 8 p.m., I'm in a developer meeting for my platform. 9 p.m., I'm in my Discord or my private community hyping on my NFT project that's coming later this year. All of these are right in a sense, right? Because I need to be working on all of them. But not all of them are right now, okay? So the NFT project, right? I'll walk through each one of these projects. So the AI content business, that's actually one you guys don't really know too much about. But I essentially use AI to make content, make graphics, advertisements, things like that to sell to businesses that are outdated. It's one of the earliest businesses I had with the Elevate platform going into Ascend, what it initially was. You can combine that with my coaching business where I coach entrepreneurs one-to-one. and work with those people. So that's all kind of the cash flow marketing agency, business growth, AI operations, cash flow, business, a lot of buzzwords right there. But that's bringing in income, right? People pay me to get coached. Businesses pay me to help design marketing campaigns and things like that for them. That money funds the other two businesses. Technically, Ascend is a cash flow and an equity business, but it's more of an equity business. I am building the Ascend software that is available in the description here for the beta, or just in my bio if this is a short form clip, for you guys to use to run your business, to manage your clients, to be more efficient with AI coaching you as like a sideman or like a assistant for your business. It tells you what you need to work on and when, so you don't have to program ChatGPT and give it life updates every day. It just tells you what to do next because it studies your patterns in your business and it makes you 10 times more efficient as an entrepreneur. So check out the Ascend Agency platform. Now, sure, I make subscriptions and people pay me to use the pro version of the platform, which is actually the AI coach and assistant part. That brings in money, which I can use to, sure, put back into marketing, helping promote my live stream content, which is my brand, all of those things. But mainly I'm building it to continue developing Ascend because I believe in the platform. And one day I'd like to sell it for $500 million or whatever it's going to be. And I genuinely mean that. I think it could sell for hundreds of millions of dollars if done correctly, just given where AI is at. So I'm not going to sell that. It's not just a quick flip business, but my marketing, my coaching, all that other stuff brings money in to help grow Ascend while it's still in the young development stage. And also the NFT project, right? I believe in NFTs. This is an early first stage drop of the collection that I'm going to have coming up, the High Flyers Club. You guys can check it out in my community. It's linked off in there. But people will essentially get these NFT tokens, which will allow them to meet up in entrepreneurship circles. And you can also resell that NFT as a collectible token at an upsell. People will buy that from you. So you can literally make money flipping these things and holding on to them and going to private networking events. I'm going to do major networking events in every city that's probably worth going to in the country, right? East Coast, West Coast, whatever it is, I'm going to try to get to as many spots as possible. We're going to invest. We're going to book out places. We're going to help you guys grow as entrepreneurs. It's going to fund this Ascend movement, which is bigger than the platform or this podcast. If you believe in this journey, if you believe in where we're going, check out the High Flyers Club project. High Flyers because it's kind of symbolic of my Air Force journey in the military, and I wanted to kind of share that with you guys, but just something we had to pick an art form, so we'll probably evolve it over time. But this is where we're starting. It's going to be the OG collection. So those are my different businesses, right? But that NFT project is equity. It's a long-term play. It's going to probably release late fall when NFTs come back very heavy, when altcoins and crypto increases to where it should be. So with that said, now that we've explained assets, liabilities, and equity, and I've taught you guys about the three types of businesses, we need to talk about the trap, right? The multitasking trap, because at the end of the day, it's not multitasking. According to Stanford research, willpower is a finite resource, right? You get tired. You need to go to bed. You need to, even when you're at work or at school, you need to like step away from the laptop and just relax for a bit. You need to scroll on your phone, usually, which is even more stimulus. It makes you more tired, even though you don't realize that because it's fun, but it's something different. The more choices you make, actually, the worse your brain gets at making them, even million-dollar ones. So when you think you're doing two things at once, you're making your brain so much worse at the things you have going on versus just setting time blocks and saying, for these 30 minutes, I'm doing this, and for these 30 minutes, I'm doing that. I'm really bad at this. I like to think I can be as efficient as possible. I've tried just dialing in on one task only. The results are night and day. Don't try to multitask. Give yourself enough time to work on things where you don't have to procrastinate and multitask because that's the only results you have. Plan in advance and you'll see your results improve dramatically just with that tip. How do we do this? How do we decide what to work on? Well, it depends entirely really where you are in your business cycle. Always as a priority list, I'm going to give you this formula. Fast cash or your cash flow business is always the first step. That leads to recurring, which recurring can mean things you do at a larger pattern, right? Which could be like weekly content. It could be planning updates inside like your bigger term equity projects. And then finally is just equity only. So it's kind of like short, medium, and long term, right? But short term is usually your fast cash flow business type thing. It's putting out fires so your cash flow business can continue to operate. And then maybe it's solving a few urgent notices for your longer term projects, right? Because usually those are longer stage things. They don't come up late notice unless there's like an emergency situation. But you handle those and then focus mainly on your cash flow business. Then when you kind of have those things caught up enough, you block a little bit of time. I would say about 30% of your time for your recurring stuff. So getting your content scheduled, filmed, batched out, whatever that's going to be, pushing your brand forward, remembering to do that too. and then planning out kind of operational month to month or 3 month stretch quarterly goals for your equity project. And then finally is going to be equity only. So that's going to be your strategy, right? You can say it's tactical, operational, and strategic, like I've talked about before. This strategic focus is, how am I going to retire? Like, what does my life look like? How am I going to build my millions? How are they going to be invested? What are the best opportunities? And I would do that about 20% of the time. So about 50% day to day, 30% kind of midterm, and then 20% long-term planning. You can adjust those, but that's the rough formula. Here's the bet I'm making. If I can get my AI content business, which is brand new, I guess not brand new, it's probably about 6 months. In terms of a business, it's very new, guys, trust me. I want to scale it an additional $10,000 in the next 30 to 60 days. The NFT launch is going to get probably between 50 to 60% of that money, because I want to fine tune the design we have for our NFTs. It's not finalized, and I look at changing it a lot because we're still far off, and I can kind of do whatever I want. That's the awesome part of being a creator instead of a consumer, is you get to make your own reality. And so I'm still fine tuning some of the designs for these NFTs, but it's going to get a lot of money and funding first. Then I'm going to start funding my personal brand a little bit more, editing this content so it's actually more watchable, and promoting my reels and stuff to build up that long-term brand. And then I'll probably put it back into the cash flow business, because I believe in expanding that a bit too, or looking at investing in some other cash flow businesses. But that's where I'm at right now. I'll keep you guys posted on that, but I wanted to share kind of how I'm making my decisions right now. I'm looking at essentially in expansion, bringing AI developed tools in that I can actually develop myself and outsource to my Ascend platform that I use to manage my business, my clients. And I've saved so much time using my own platform. That's why I built my own platform for Ascend, because I know exactly the problems you guys have to face when you're starting a client-based business, or you want to start a community, or whatever it is. And I give you guys all the tools to be successful online in basically any type of business, because I've just realized and built the tools that I would need to run things myself. So hopefully you guys like that. But which one do you guys think you need to build first? Fast cash or long-term equity? Hopefully you guys figured that out from this message. Fast cash is always going to keep you floating in the water. And then, and only then, can you look at finding a boat, getting the hell out of the water. Why are you in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? Let's say Pacific. I feel like I would freeze if I was in the Atlantic Ocean. But why are you in the middle of the ocean, looking for ships? How did you even get here? Did you fall off a boat? Right? Those are the questions you ask only when the shark is done tugging at your leg and you've kicked it off and you've managed to actually get yourself afloat, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you got to swim before you can start moving. You got to walk before you can run. Cash flow is always going to allow you to do crazier things. So stop with I got to be a millionaire, bro. No, you got to make $500 a month. Then you got to make $5,000 a month. Then you got to make $10,000 a month. And likely that business, whatever it is, that hustle business will max out. And then you just transfer those funds into other opportunities. That's how you really get rich. You don't bet it all on a meme coin. Bad advice, because I'm kind of doing that in some ways right now. I'm just not betting all my money because I'm not an idiot, right? But I'm spreading out into different opportunities. And then I look like a genius because I had $2,000 to spare and I put it in some random shit coin that blew up because I had insider kind of advanced knowledge of systems and like AI insights. Insider knowledge isn't really the best term. I don't actually have insider knowledge. It's more of I just took time to actually research the inner workings of the company. Like, I deep researched because I had time, because I freed up my time with the Ascend platform. I used AI. I used a community of people to tell me exactly what to invest in. And that's the purpose of my free group. I want to have you guys here and present, interacting with each other so we can make ourselves better. We can work together on projects. You guys can help advise me on what to do. I can give you guys advice. And I just want to build a brotherhood and I guess potentially sisterhood too of entrepreneurs that are dedicated to being better. So with that said, I want to put a message out before I wrap this up. I understand we're living in unprecedented times. The world is scary. The economy is scary. Most of you can't even afford a house, rent, even your car payment. Everything is so expensive. It's harder than ever to win right now. And I'm not going to deny it. I'm not just going to say work harder. Andrew Tate, fuck you for that. Like, honestly, you can't just tell men that and not give them the plan. I understand the plan for him is to join the real world. I'm not here peddling something. Join my free community and learn everything for free. I'm not an asshole that just is trying to make a cheap buck off guys that are insecure. The system will absolutely try and put you down. It'll try to sedate you at first. It'll try to neutralize you. That's the default path for any human who doesn't plug in obediently. I just want to call it like it is. So the first phase of this is sedation. When you guys start getting successful, when you start making progress, you feel like it's actually going to be like harder to live, right? Because the system's catching on. The system doesn't want to fight you. It just wants to numb you out and obey. Actually, the first few videos I ever posted did really well. And then when the algorithm caught on to me not being a big fan of how the system worked, my videos did really shitty. That's why I'm on Rumble, because they don't believe in censoring people like that. And the actual truth is often censored. Look at the JFK thing. Look at the Epstein list that doesn't exist. You need to pay attention to these things. You need to pay attention to what's censored, because the truth is hidden behind those X'd out lines, okay? You understand what I'm saying? And so when you start succeeding, when you start realizing how the world actually works, you think you know, but I'll tell you, unless you've done the research I have, you don't know shit about how the world works. I don't even. But I can tell you I'm further ahead than you are, most likely. And it blew my fucking mind when I learned some of the scary, crazy shit that goes on and how the world truly works when you start making a little bit of pocket change. You think it's just gonna be you with money. You, but more fun. You with a Lamborghini. That's not how it works. When you make money, people notice. Your life changes. Listen to me carefully. The system will notice. Your content will be shittier. Because if you actually believe in the things that are true and in an evil system, you will get shut down. And it's not because you're doing something wrong, because you're doing everything right. But the world doesn't want to accept that. Here's how it works. Your feed is filled with outrage. It's filled with porn. It's filled with dopamine traps. You're pushed into survival loops, debt, credit cards, useless degrees. There's some great, I would want my doctor to have a degree. You're sold the dream of someday. Maybe someday you can retire. Maybe someday you'll have enough money saved to get a house. To have a place, like if we were cavemen, I could just literally find a cave. I can claim land. Actually, I was actually more free if I was a caveman than I am now, where I have to work really, really hard instead of just wandering about a cave. You understand what I'm saying? Sure, my life quality is better, but is it in a lot of ways? If you rebel, you're offered just enough comfort, essentially, to stop trying. If you consume enough, if you comply enough, if you sleep enough, you never become a threat. Anybody that's made something, worked with the system, and had to accept the bribes and I don't even want to. I'm not going to name names because something bad's going to happen to me if I do. And I shouldn't, right? I'm still military. I'm not going to talk too much about that. But you either make it because you play along, or you make it because you don't and you're loud enough that you actually get through to people. And you're not owned by, I'm not going to say that either, because I can't. Most people just stop. They never make it to that phase where they have to even make that decision. They trade freedom for sedation, because when they actually start learning about how the world works, it's that informed pessimism instead of that uninformed optimism, because you think you can conquer the world, and then you start and you realize how fucking hard it is and how much things are truly working against you. It scares the living daylights out of you because you realize how evil it can be. And now your motivation drops. It drops hard because you're like, fuck, you have to be part of this and this and this to even win. If everything is fake, because a lot is, can I even win, or is just everything fake? You get very pessimistic. You get nihilistic. I've been there. Most people stop there. They say, I'm done. I'm just going to live in the system. Hope they don't bother me. I'm just going to pay my taxes and do my stuff on time. And hopefully I'm okay. I'm going to work my 9 to 5. I'm going to maybe save up a little bit for a vacation. And that's how it's worked. It's been a scare threat. I don't believe in that, at least not yet. Hopefully if they come for me, they got to me, right? Because I don't think I'll ever go back to that. I can't, because I'm awake now. Phase 2 is neutralization. If you refuse to give in, like I just told you I'm doing, you enter the rare zone. You're not asleep and you're not building. I used to call this the no man's land, just because you didn't know what you were doing. It's kind of like when you start building a business, right? And you're like, oh, it's so easy. I could just do a marketing agency. And then you're like, how do I design ad graphics? How do I find customers? How do I make an offer package that sounds better than the competition? Wow, this is actually getting really hard. It's actually very competitive. And then you get to no man's land, where you realize you don't know how to do anything. And you either turn around before you enter and you avoid that shit, or you go straight in and you probably get lost. You probably get lonely. You probably get depressed. You probably hate your life. But eventually, if you bump into enough walls, some faint light's gonna come from the back end, and you're gonna start wandering toward it. And you're gonna realize that it was just another wall with a light. And then eventually it'll turn around about 80,000 more times, and then you might find the end. Maybe. That's why most people don't do it, because it's not a great bet. And let's just say there's also mines all over the floor of this room. Yeah, it's not a great setup, being realistic. And you're gonna lose a lot of money. You're gonna hate your life probably for a bit in the process. But if you're lucky, and I think luck does play into it, if you create opportunities to be more lucky, because I think that is in your control, you'll probably find your way out. And then you'll get informed optimism of saying, you know what? I know the struggle, but I've also done it, so I can keep doing it. I can just make more money now because I figured out how to make it profitable. How do I make it more profitable? And now you're in the easy end game, usually, and you're on the other side. So many people take shortcuts. They take buyouts. They take bribes. They put the fries in the bag, or they make it by scamming, right? Or they just become a cheap, washed out sponsor me, please type influencer. I don't believe in that because I make money from other businesses. So I should never hopefully have to do that. And I believe too much in my following and in my content that if somebody comes up to me and offers me a easy money stack, I will gladly work at McDonald's for the rest of my life rather than take some piece of shit's buyout. I'm not going to do that. So if you refuse, the system watches you, listens to you. It's listening to me right now. If you go loud, if you're still loud like I am, you'll get shadow banned. Your videos will do terrible. You'll get throttled. You'll get labeled. Your income streams might get cut. Your banking might get cut. Your funding might get cut. You'll be gaslit. You're paranoid. It's just the algorithm. You're losing it, man. Why don't you just go back to what you were doing? That worked. And if you win anyway, you get co-opted or canceled or forgotten because it took too long. This is why you don't build inside their frame, inside the system's frame. You don't shout, I'm anti-system on all platforms. You don't beg for approval or compliance. You build quietly, modularly, independently, and decentralized, where you can't just give up all your information to one system. Like a ghost in the shell, too embedded to erase. You rely on other people to clip you. You get posted on other platforms. You collab with bigger names where it's not even your channel anymore. You become a movement and not a person. You don't rely on, Instagram, TikTok, because they control attention. I've gotten banned from TikTok so many times for saying fuck, and it pisses me off. Stripe, PayPal, banks, they can freeze accounts, jobs, government programs. They own your hours and they own your outcome. Mass identity, they punish deviation. Like sheep in a flock, you will get eaten, you'll cast away. So instead, and it's hard, I'm not gonna lie, it's very hard, but instead you choose to build. And this is where you need people to support you. This is why I built the free community, because I understand this and I don't want anybody to go through what I had to for a year, living in my apartment by myself, trying to figure out this podcast, trying to get on the air. I was also going through a breakup to start. I had several rocky flings that just ate away at my soul. And I want you to have people to go through it with, which is why I have a free community. So build, because it matters. If you can have decentralized income from multiple AI systems, funnels, where your data is not stolen or leaked or controlled or watched or monitored. If you can have a private community that you own the website link for, the space, it's in Ascend, a decentralized encrypted space and network that is for the people. Your tribe exists outside the main big name platform. If you have self-trained AI models, you aren't at the mercy of black box systems. You can actually use tools that learn about you, that help you and improve your state. If you have a modular online presence, you can mirror your influence across many nodes. People can post your content and repost that and repost that. And you become a vision and not just a visionary. Digital and physical escape plan. So you can vanish and reappear when needed. And that's all stuff we teach you guys inside. But how to do it the right way. How to do it without becoming a burn the whole system down, V is for vendetta figure. No, we want to do things the right way. And there still are so many right ways to do it, to play along good and to make income and change your life in the best ways. I don't want to be a rebel. I'm not a rebel. I'm not defecting. I'm not doing any of that. I don't believe in that either. I believe in genuine good and people standing up to change things that they believe are wrong. And I hope that we can make a change by showing the world that we can still be strong at the scariest times ever, because that's bravery. That's masculinity. It's not flinging your chest out and pounding it like a gorilla, or putting up 225 on bench, which is an amazing feeling. It's standing up when your nuts sink into your stomach and you don't think you have the confidence to pull it off and still fucking doing it. Why do you think people like Harvey Specter, right, on Suits? Because he does that. He's not afraid to speak his mind, even when he knows he's bluffing. He has to play the man. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of fake it until you make it. And you get a lot of hate, you get a lot of punishment, and you take a lot of shit. And a lot of times they're right. You didn't make money yet. Who's this cringy influencer thinking he owns the world? And in the back of your mind, you're like, shit, I really don't. I'm not making money off this yet. Eventually you do. And eventually your whole world changes because of it. You just have to be right. They have to be right every time. If you're valuable, if you're quietly powerful, and if you're fluent in the new tools and surrounded by others, which is why you have to join our free community, only spot for this, then you're too useful to delete and you're too decentralized to control. You're a ghost. You're a very rich, powerful, influential ghost that everyone knows. And that's the real end game. You don't beat the system by fighting it head on. You become sovereign and free, truly, within it, to operate as you will. The system won't destroy you if you don't make yourself a target. It will ignore you until you're undeniable. It will. And that phase will fucking suck. By then, you won't be asking permission. You will already be untouchable. It's not a loud one at first. It takes a long time, but it's worth it. And it's a real life. Amidst all this fake bullshit, live a life that you believe in. And do it now, because the gates are closing fast. We might have a couple of years maximum, probably even closer to months. I would give it 18 to 24 months before everything changes. And so my final words to you are this: we're not burning down the place. There's no revolution. I don't I'm not starting a movement against any systems in place, at least not directly. I'm challenging the way of thinking within it, because thinking and challenging thought has always led to the greatest discoveries and movements of humankind. The Enlightenment, the Renaissance, the French Revolution, the American Revolution, social movements, civil movements, religious movements have all changed our world. But they've started because people believed in something that was different from what they had. Do you want what we have now? Do you want the way the world is to stay like it is? Because regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, this isn't even a political statement. Shit is more expensive. The world is getting dirtier, right? Maybe morally, but also the climate's getting worse. Things are getting polluted. Nobody's standing up for justice. Nobody wants, it seems like, change to happen very quickly. We all seem hesitant about taking action. Well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to do it still while in the military, because I'm not doing anything to directly challenge people. I'm not calling out names. I'm doing everything in my God-given justified powers as a civilian, in my civilian time and duties, to speak up. And I believe that you guys will too. The best way to put yourself to use is to actually build the life you want, to show the world, and more importantly yourself, that you can still make it happen, even as hard as everything is. You just need the right formula, but more importantly, you need the right support. And I promise you guys, if you join the space, if you join the free community, if you start using the Ascend platform, if you give us feedback, if we build this together as a community-driven and led platform and network, we're gonna do some fucking amazing things. My name is Caleb Schilke. This is the Ascended Podcast. As always, I care about you guys. I want you to be successful. I want you to know that you are successful, because that starts that manifestation practice that I talked about. And it will change your entire concept of reality. It will push you toward more likely outcomes because you believe in it. And so you'll take actions, identities, and beliefs that justify that millionaire lifestyle. Believe it. As hard as it is, just like religion, even though you don't want to believe it, even though you don't have proof, that's the whole purpose of belief, is that you can't prove it. You have to just know it's the case, and it will become the case. Join our community, and I can promise you great things will happen. As always, I'm rooting for you. Have a great night, guys.